welcome to the first official episode of the StepBack Pod. I'm here with my co-host, Caleb. Caleb, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. It's Monday. It's nice out in Minnesota, so I can't complain.
Yeah, it's beautiful out in Canada, too.
And the Dallas
Wonderful
Mavericks are
weather.
winning, man. Come on.
Yeah. All right, so why don't you take us right through with what the podcast is going to be about?
Cool. Well, thanks, Alex. Yeah, Alex is taking the lead with getting this set up. He kind of invited me, which has been pretty cool. This is the StepBack Pod on YouTube. We're the StepBack Podcast. TikTok, it's the StepBack Pod. Both of us follow it. We're going to try to get this up on Spotify sometime. Who knows on this episode? This should be uploaded probably by like 6 or 7 tonight. Most evenings, we'll try to get it by like 5 Eastern. We'll be recording it a little bit earlier in the future. But what we're going to do is just kind of talk basketball, specifically NBA. I know there's a lot of March Madness right now. We won't be hitting that stuff much. Maybe we'll mention Cade's name here and there. But today we're going to go through...
Fade for Cade.
Yeah. Today we're going to go through some trade deadline talks. That's coming up in a week, the 26th?
Yeah, the 8th. Or not the 8th, sorry. Why did I say 8th? It's Thursday.
You're
For
good.
some
You're
reason,
good.
I associate 8 with Thursday.
It's a Monday. Yeah. All right, cool. And then after their trade talks, which Alex will kind of lead us through that, he'll also lead us through some buyout conversation, and we'll finish up with some MVP stuff. It's a basketball pod. You got to talk MVPs, you know?
Yeah.
I think our picks might surprise you. We do know what each other selected, but we'll keep it a surprise till the end. So to kick it off, most Mondays, we're going to try to have a little trivia question that I'll provide for Alex. We do want to interact with you guys, so comment if you know the answer. This one's really specific to Alex, so I don't know if you'll be able to beat him, but try to comment before he gets it. Also, drop questions for us. We would love to answer them, talk about them on the pod. Just interact with this. So ready for the question, Alex?
I'm ready for it. I'm ready for it. Shoot.
Here is the trivia question. The Toronto Raptors, your favorite team, Mr. Canadian.
Of course.
Their single game scoring record was set this season by,
Freddie.
Our boy Freddie the GOAT, when he scored 54 points, the same career high as Kevin Durant, on February 2nd against the Magic. Okay? We all remember that game. Big night.
Yeah. So
there's a couple parts to this question, so don't answer it right away because this is probably one you'll know quick. Who previously had the franchise high, and how many points was it? And then bonus if you know the year, date, more details on it, who they played, stuff like that.
So it was DeMar DeRozan.
Yeah, easy for Raptors.
Also, shout out to Terrence Ross for also dropping 50.
Let's go, T-Ross.
Yeah, it was DeMar DeRozan with a high of 52 career points.
He nailed it. That's correct.
And the season, I believe it was 2017. I might be wrong.
Super close. January 1st, 2018.
Oh my goodness.
Against, do you remember who they played? Do you remember who they played?
The Bucks.
Milwaukee.
Yeah. I remember that game clearly. DeRozan was popping off.
I can't believe you got 2017 18 confused, but I'll give you a point for that one. You got it. Good job.
Yeah. All right. So,
you want to kick us off with some trade talks?
Yeah, let's go right through the trade talks. So since the trade deadline is approaching, today we're doing a trade deadline special. So I have a couple players' names here, and we're going to go through each team, not every single team, but the teams that have been rumored to be involved in trade talks. And we're going to go through some players that should be traded or that could be traded. So let's start off with the Magic with Nikola Vucevic, Aaron Gordon, and Mo Bamba. Now, Aaron Gordon formally requested a trade this morning.
A couple hours ago.
Yeah. We're gonna wait to see where he's gonna end up. So Caleb, where do you think Gordon could go?
Gordon, that's a tough one for me. I know we've chatted about this a little bit because there was really no surprise with Gordon asking for a trade or demanding a trade, whatever. Who's watching the Magic this season? Like how many Magic games do you think you've watched?
The Fred VanVleet game.
The Fred VanVleet game. That's it. Yeah, I've probably only, if I'm being honest, maybe this is embarrassing. Like I'm not as dedicated as some NBA fans, I guess, because I've probably watched less than 2 Magic games, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
Not a super great place for stars to be. I don't know what category Aaron Gordon's in right now, but he's the type of guy I don't think any team wants necessarily or is like trying to buy. But if they can get him low, then he's a good asset. Do you agree there?
Like, there's no team that's saying, I want Aaron Gordon on my team. No one's going to say that. But I mean, if you can get him for cheap, that's kind of what the Cavs did with Drummond. They weren't really like, I want Andre Drummond, but it was what, John Henson, Brandon Knight, and a second?
Yes,
So they're going to take him.
exactly.
You know? So, do you have any idea where he could land? I personally thought of Minnesota because they've been in dire need of a power forward. But is Aaron Gordon really the right fit next to Cat?
No. I think short answer, no. I've heard also Warriors talk. I mean, the teams we're mentioning are teams that are in every trade conversation right now because they have assets to trade and need to make a change. I don't think there's any value for the Warriors or the Wolves at the moment, especially with both of them potentially getting a lottery pick next year. So,
Do you think they sit him for the rest of the season?
if they trade him, or will the Magic?
Well, like the Magic, if he doesn't end up getting traded, do you think they sit him?
No, I don't. But I think he's going to get traded. I think
All
they're
right,
going to
let's
trade him.
move on to Nikola Vucevic. Now, the Magic love him, especially their coach.
I love
He's in
him.
love with him. Him and Ken Burch. Steve Clifford, I believe, is the coach in Orlando. In love with Nikola Vucevic. Nikola has been rumored to go to Toronto Raptors, who need a big man. However, he has also been rumored to go to the Celtics, who need a big man even more than us. So what do you think about that?
I think we got to do a Nicola pairing and send him to Denver. No.
Oh,
I think Vooch is underrated in an interesting way. Obviously, he was an all-star, but he's doing a lot in Orlando. Once again, haven't watched many Magic games, but the ones I see, he's killing it. But obviously, not a lot of attention because they don't win too many games. Not the biggest market team. I know it's in Florida, but like it's the Magic, you know. I will mention one other name in Orlando that I feel is underrated and could get traded. That's Evan Fournier. I think he's a great shooter. He could be a huge asset for a team, but we'll get to that. You mentioned the Celtics. Actually, we might not get to that, but you mentioned the Celtics for Vooch. They definitely need a big man. Everyone knows that. Offensively, if they just need a bucket, they don't have a ton of depth outside of like Tatum, Walker, and Brown, thank you. And then maybe if you count Marcus Smart, but if they truly need a bucket, those are the three guys. And Vooch is a guy who could definitely do that. Maybe not quite the defensive staple you'd want, but he can stretch the floor. What do you think about Vooch in Boston?
So here's my thing with Vooch in Boston. First of all, what assets do the Celtics have to give up for Vooch? They have that Gordon Hayward trade exception, but that trade exception is not going to do much if they can't give anything in return.
Yeah.
Now, who would the Magic want back? Marcus Smart?
Which Celtics fans do not want to give up.
They don't really have any offers to give the Magic. On top of that, they have Robert Williams, who's a great defensive center. I think they should be starting him. Now, obviously, Vooch would be an upgrade to Robert Williams, but just the problem is, what do the Celtics give to get Vooch?
Yeah. Well, if you guys know, let us know in the comments.
Yeah, please, feel free.
I think
and lastly...
Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, that's all I have to say about Vooch and the Celtics. I think we're going to get back to the Celtics later with some other pieces, but...
Yeah.
What else do we have?
Lastly, for the Magic is Mo Bamba. Now, him and Marvin Bagley are sort of in the same situation where they're young players that haven't really grown into the players we thought they'd grow into.
Yeah.
And they're both bigs that aren't necessarily amazing at one thing. Now, Mo Bamba is a great rim protector. He's a great defender. But other than that, it's not much. So do you think Mo could land somewhere? And keep in mind that he does have a pretty small contract.
I have no idea what someone would give for Mo Bamba right now, or who it would be, if I'm being honest. I got an important question for you, though.
Yeah.
Which song is better, Mo Bamba or Tyler Hero?
Oh, Tyler Hero.
No question.
Easily.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Mo Bamba's all hype. Jack Harlow's where it's at.
Yeah.
Anyways,
all right.
What do we got next?
Moving on to the Toronto Raptors with Kyle Lowry. I hate to say it. Norman Powell, I hate to say it, and Aaron Baines, please get away from my team.
Absolutely. I think the guy we got to focus on here is definitely Kyle. That's the most interesting one, in my opinion.
Yeah.
What do you got for me on that as a fan of the Raptors?
Okay. Now, if I'm being a biased Raptors fan, I want to keep him. He's part of our legacy, greatest player of our franchise.
No question.
I want to keep Kyle. Then if you're thinking about it as a basketball perspective, it's probably better if we start Norman now that the whole gang's back. Play Freddie at the 1. You trade
Freddie.
Kyle to a contender, get some pieces back, and help with the rebuild, because realistically, we're not going that far in the playoffs.
Yeah.
We gotta be honest with ourselves. So where could I think that he would go? Probably Miami, Philadelphia. The Clippers have been rumored, but the Clippers have no assets. Paul George drained their assets. They have nothing. So
Yeah,
what about you? Do you think Kyle can answer?
Those are the exact 3 I was thinking of. I was just about to say those. I think Masai will be good. Good to Kyle. Obviously, he's earned the Raptors' respect, as you said, greatest Raptor of all time. I think my favorite fit, well, okay, my favorite fit is the Clippers because they need a point guard, and Kyle would bring that. That would really help them in the playoffs, but I don't see that happening. But my favorite fit of the Eastern teams would be the Heat. I think he'd fit well with their culture. I would love to see him, Jimmy, and Bam next to each other. Like, that's an awesome trio.
That defensive trio, amazing.
Yeah, and just like the hustle trio, they play hard. With the Sixers, I think you mentioned this when we talked about it previously, saying they'd have to slide Ben Simmons to a forward position, which honestly would be good for the Sixers, but they're going to be giving up a lot. What do you think the Sixers? Okay, Sixers. What do they give up? Heat. What would they have to give up for Kyle?
Okay, let's leave the Clippers out of this.
Yeah,
because I want to see Kyle go to the Clippers.
They're not trading Lou Will for Lowry. Like, what is that?
All right, now for the Heat, they probably have to give us the Iguodala contract.
Okay.
To make the salaries match. Kyle's making like $30 million a year.
Yeah.
And then Tyler Herro, that's a stretch. They didn't want to trade him for James Harden, but we've seen this season that Tyler hasn't been that good this season.
Yeah.
He hasn't been that good this season. So it's either him or Duncan. They have to give him one. And then personally, a player I would like to take from the Heat is Precious Achiuwa.
I like that. Good young player.
Yeah.
A lot of potential.
The Raptors.
Yeah. I got a question. Do you think who has more value for the Heat right now? Like truly, Tyler Herro or Duncan Robinson?
Currently, Duncan Robinson. In the long run, Tyler Herro.
I think that's exactly where I'm at with that one.
Yeah.
Good answer.
All right. Now for the Sixers, that package would look a bit different because the problem with trading Kyle to Philly is that they would lose out on all the shooters they traded for or signed this offseason. Now, yes, they have Furkan Korkmaz and whoever else they got off the bench, Shake Milton, but they would lose out on Seth Curry and Danny Green to make the salaries match up. Plus, they would have to give us Maxey, Fiber, or both, and like a pick. So
a team already struggling with depth and injuries.
Exactly. And if you're moving Ben to the 3, that even though Kyle at the 1 helps your shooting, it also hurts your shooting with Ben at the 3. But
man, if we're talking about the Heat big 3 with Lowry defensively, imagine this big 3 defensively.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Yeah, but they would have to give up quite a bit for Lowry. But what do we got next for trades?
So we got the Cleveland Cavaliers.
Okay,
and the 3 players here are their 3 bigs. Well, one of their 3 bigs because they got 5 of them. And that's Andre Drummond, Kevin Love, and JaVale McGee. Now, JaVale could get bought out because of his tiny contract. But Drummond, the buyout has been rumored for a while now, and nothing's happened. So what do you think about that? Where do you think Drummond or Love could land?
Well, I think JaVale's a ring chaser. But Drummond, obviously, we've got the Celtics talks there. Obviously, we've all heard those. They need a big. Pretty much any big who's maybe even slightly available is being talked about. I don't like Drummond's fit with the Celtics. I do think he's slightly overrated as a player. I think his boards are his stats are a little bit empty. The rebounding as a team doesn't get better when he's on the squad. I think he's just taking boards from other players. He does add value defensively, but I don't like the fit with the Celtics. Where could you see Andre? I know you have some interesting takes here.
So I personally want Drummond to go to the Lakers. Okay. Now, I would hate for the Lakers to close with him, but as a starting center who's a nice interior defender and a good rebounder next to AD, that would be great. He's a nice big body. And that's what the Lakers are missing this season. They don't have a body. Last year they had JaVale and Dwight in the paint. This year they got Marcus Gasol, who's the slowest person in human history,
Yeah.
and Montrezl Harrell, who's like a 6-foot center. So the Lakers are missing size in the paint.
Absolutely.
They should get Drummond. However, I think if you're the Lakers organization, you close out the lineup with your forwards as Markieff Morris and Anthony Davis, and not Drummond and AD.
Yeah, you don't want Drummond on the floor to close a game in a playoff series if you're a real contender. If we're being honest, but
yeah,
I don't. That's I think all I've got on Drummond.
Yeah. What do you think about Kevin Love? Because I feel like every year around this time, it's always Kevin Love. Where's Kevin Love going to end up? And the Cavs always end up keeping. And he just sits on the bench because he has a broken hand or a broken toe or broken something every time.
Yeah, like we've seen him play like parts of like 2 games this season, maybe.
Yeah.
Like very minimal. I'm kind of lost on Kevin Love because I don't know what his value is right now because I don't remember the last time I saw him play. Do you have any spots you could see him? I feel like there's talks everywhere just because fan bases like to overhype things.
Yeah, I feel like Portland is always rumored to have Kevin Love. But if you're Portland, you're taking a long-term contract. I think he's still got 2 years left on his deal.
Yeah.
You probably do get something in return, like maybe a future pick, just because of how bad Love's contract is. But then you also got to give up stuff, and they'd probably be giving up pieces like Derek Jones Jr., because he's got like a $10 million deal, and Enes Kanter, they'd have to make something work. I think Love stays in Cleveland, but it was just a player I thought I'd throw out there.
Yeah, totally. Definitely a guy who could potentially be on the market, and he could make an impact for a team, but we'll see. Almost like in a weird way, like a Blake Griffin situation.
Yeah. Oh, exactly. Yeah, I like that analogy. All right. So here for the Kings, we got the famous Harrison Barnes, who's been rumored to go to the Celtics for a while now. What do you think about that? Lead us through this one.
I think Harrison Barnes is my favorite guy to talk about this season in trade talks. Just the Kings in general, actually. So the three guys I see as being trade pieces are Harrison Barnes, and then Buddy Hield, and lastly Rashawn Holmes. I think they could all add value to a team, but Harrison Barnes especially, because obviously they've established they're building around De'Aaron Fox. He's their best player. He's a great player. He's looked fantastic this season. Bad team. Side note: they need to fire Luke Walton ASAP. He should not be coaching an NBA team. There's some definite weird privilege going on there, and he shouldn't be there. He loses games. But Harrison Barnes would be a huge addition for a contender. I don't love the Celtics fit, so it would add the offensive depth I was kind of talking about earlier. But if you're the Celtics, well, let me ask you: if you're the Celtics, you obviously got that big four, and you want those big four, whatever you consider them. You want those 4 closing games. If you have Harrison Barnes, do you want him to be your 5th closer with him or Tatum at a small ball center? Because I'm not too sure about that.
Okay, here's the problem. And we've talked about this before. The Eastern Conference is loaded with dominant big men.
Yeah.
Like Giannis Antetokounmpo and Joel Embiid.
Bam
and those are the type of guys you're going to play in a playoff series. Now, as much as I would love to see Tatum close at the 5, because isn't he like 6'10"?
Apparently.
And if we're being honest, Harrison Barnes and Tatum as your front court is probably better than Tatum and Daniel Tice.
Yeah.
But can Tatum hold his own is the real question. We'll have to find out.
And also, side note, Daniel Tice is way smaller than I thought. He's like 6'8". He's not a big man. He's like LeBron size. Playing center. Yeah, but Harrison Barnes, I like the fit with the Heat, actually. I think we've seen him be a role guy, a 5th best player, 4th best player on a contender, obviously a championship team with the Warriors with their small ball lineup. But he wasn't that big man, or he wasn't playing that small ball 5 position. That was Draymond, obviously. But he can take people ISO. He can score when you need to, but he also understands, like, I'm not the best player on the team. I can get it to the best player on the team. So I like that about Harrison Barnes. I hope we see him move.
Now, you talked about 3 guys on the Kings that could potentially be traded.
Yeah.
Buddy Hield, Rashawn Holmes, and Harrison Barnes. What do you think about Marvin Bagley? Because just yesterday, the Kings offered him to the Pistons straight up for Sadiq Bey, and they declined.
Yeah, Marvin Bagley's another guy I don't see a whole lot of value in right now. I know he's a high draft pick, so there's definitely potential there, and he's got physical tools to make it happen. Um, but it hasn't been happening in what he's been in the league. This is his third year.
No. Yeah, he's the Luka draft, so
Yep.
it is his third
The
year.
Luka
Yeah.
draft, baby.
Yeah. Okay. Let's move on to our next team, which is the New Orleans Pelicans. Now, the big one here is Lonzo Ball, and a big trade I would love to see happen is swapping point guards with the Chicago Bulls. You send Lonzo to the Bulls
Kobe.
in exchange for Kobe White, yeah,
Okay.
and a first-round pick. It could be protected because Lonzo is a bit more valuable. What do you think about that?
I like that. I mean, I think Lonzo's like not going to get his respect even if he's really good, just because the way he started the season and the image he has with his like family and whatever. I love seeing him next to Zion, but I think anywhere Lonzo lands, it's going to be a fantastic fit. I think he's going to make any team win more. Just the facilitator he is, the way he can push the ball or run your half-court offense super effectively. He's shooting the ball well. Ever since the first trade rumors, he's been playing lights out. Bledsoe's definitely taking a step back. But do you have anything on Lonzo before? I have some other things on the Pelicans I kind of want to mention.
Here's my thing with Lonzo. I love the fit with New Orleans. Him and Zion are a perfect duo. And Brandon Ingram's a nice complimentary piece, too. I love Brandon Ingram. However, I don't think it's working out there for some reason. Is it Stan Van Gundy? Is it Eric Bledsoe? And Steve Adams? Those two veterans are ruining that team. I am sorry.
Yeah, so coming into the season, I'm going off on a rant about the Pelicans. Is that okay? Just a little bit?
Oh, yeah, go for it.
So coming into the season, I made some videos. People know I was confused about the Pelicans, but excited to watch them because they got Zion, they got B.I., Lonzo, fun players, right? Steven Adams and Eric Bledsoe didn't make a ton of sense to me. I understand they just need to ship Drew Holiday for something. I thought they would have zero spacing, and they don't have great spacing, but Lonzo's been shooting it. Got an interesting two-man game with Redick and Zion, which we can talk about Redick a little bit later. But if I'm being honest, right now the Pelicans look confused. Maybe it's Stan Van Gundy. They look confused at the end of the game because I personally think Zion's their best player. But the problem is they don't know who to give the ball to at the end. I think Ingram thinks he should, but I think Zion should have the ball because if you need a bucket, Zion's going to get a bucket. If I was the Pelicans, I would trade Ingram right now.
I'm going to have to agree. I am going to have to agree.
You're not building around Zion and Ingram. You're building around Zion. And if that's correct or not, that's what they want to do.
Yeah, I've had this conversation with other people before. Mm-hmm. I don't think Ingram fits well with Zion.
He's a great player.
Yeah, he's a great player. But I don't think he fits well with Zion. Ingram is an ISO scorer that isn't a good passer whatsoever. I don't know.
And they almost play the same position but completely differently.
Exactly, yeah. Do you package Lonzo and Ingram for a superstar guard?
If you package those two, you better get like all of OKC's first round picks, something like that, because those guys are like future stars, maybe not quite superstars, but stars. Like they're good.
Yeah. Well, that got you AD, so we'll get you something near it.
I don't know. I don't know where. Okay, I've heard OKC actually picking up Ingram, which wouldn't be. I mean, imagine Ingram and Shea. That would be fun.
Oh, yeah.
That would be. I would love. OKC's fun to watch, especially they might be number one on the watch list right now that LaMelo's hurt. But adding Ingram,
hey, they better not give up Lou Dort though.
That would be a great trio.
They shouldn't do that.
But shout out to my boy Isaiah Roby from Nebraska. That's the real GOAT in OKC.
Yeah. Speaking about the Thunder, who do you think is better, Isaiah Roby or Darius Bazley? Because they're both power forwards, and they both kind of like battle it out for the best one. Who do you got?
Roby, obviously. Come on.
Roby, obviously?
Obviously.
Yeah.
Do I even need to explain? No debate. Should we get back to trades, though? I think that was enough of a tangent.
Yeah. All right. Now we got the Houston Rockets with Eric Gordon, who's been having a low-key underrated season. I saw that face. He's been having a decent season.
Oh, I'm just doing that for the Rockets. I'm making that face, man.
And Victor Oladipo. Big trade talk. Leave it to the Warriors. What do you think?
first of all, I've got a hot take about the Rockets at the end of this that you won't like. Maybe you know what it is. Second of all, I'm pretty sure the Rockets have said pretty much everyone's on the table except for Christian Wood. Last I heard,
yeah.
Oladipo is a must ship. You got to get rid of him.
Yeah.
We keep talking about the Heat because they're a like borderline contender right now that needs, I think, an extra piece. Personally, some people see them as a contender already. The East is a lot better this year. I don't quite see them there. So we talked to Lowry. I think Oladipo would be another guy they could trade there because he's going to be a free agent. So Houston might as well get something out of him right now because they're not going to win any extra games with him. 20-game losing streak. Nobody does that. So what about you with Oladipo?
So Oladipo said he wants to go to the Heat, and he's made that clear.
Yeah.
Personally, I don't like the fit.
Okay.
I really don't. Because if you think about it, Vio he's a good defender. Back in his prime in Indiana, that year he went off, he was a great defender, and he was a bucket getter and a decent playmaker. But I don't know, my opinion on Victor Oladipo has changed a lot lately. I don't think he has that same fire. He didn't even have it at the beginning of the season. And it's not like he's a relatively amazing passer. He's kind of a ball hog, but not really. I don't know. I'm not really a big fan of Vio anymore. I used to love the man, but...
That brings an interesting question. How much better or valuable, whatever you choose, is Oladipo than Tyler Hero?
Ooh, I think that's still a pretty big upgrade.
How much?
Just because Tyler's not that big of a defender, and he's been having a really down year compared to his rookie season.
Yeah, compared to his playoff run.
Yeah. I think it's an upgrade. It's an upgrade, but you don't give up Tyler for Vio.
No.
Because you could just wait.
Yeah.
You could just wait.
That's all I got on the Rockets.
Yeah. Any trade destinations for Eric Gordon? I personally would love to see him on the Lakers next to LeBron. That would be amazing.
He would be a great piece for a contender as well.
Yeah. All right. And finally, we got the OKC Thunder with their veteran guard, George Hill. Now, I know you love some George Hill, so go for it.
Yeah, my take on George Hill, once again, the Clippers, great team. They're not going to get over that hump until they get a point guard. We all know that. We've all talked about it. Lonzo would be awesome. Lowry would be awesome. I don't think they have the firepower to go out and trade for him, though, either of those two. But they just need a guy who can set up PG and Kawhi, get them to their spots, slow down the offense a little bit, just kind of facilitate. And I think that's something George Hill could do for them. He's a veteran. He's getting up there. He's almost 35 years old, which is interesting. Kind of surprised me to see that. But, you need a point guard, and he might be the best guy you can afford right now.
Yeah.
So.
I agree with that. And here's the thing with Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi had his best season when he was playing with an amazing point guard in Kyle Lowry. Now, Kyle Lowry, back in their championship run, he was feeding Kawhi. He was bringing the ball up the court, and he was giving it to Kawhi so Kawhi could get buckets.
Yeah.
The Clippers need someone like that. You shouldn't be having Paul George bring the ball up the court.
Yeah.
That shouldn't be happening.
And they've tried to put Kawhi, occasionally they'll put Kawhi in almost like a LeBron point guard position, which Kawhi's fantastic, but he's not LeBron. He doesn't do that stuff like he does. So I don't know.
Shout out to everyone who said Kawhi was better than LeBron. Max Kellerman.
Bro, but Reggie Jackson and Pat Bev just aren't doing it for him.
Exactly.
And you do not want Lou Williams to be in at point guard. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
He's a scorer, not a point guard.
All right, so we're done with trade talks. Now let's head into the buyout market.
I have a question.
Oh,
I've got one more team I want to talk about. Do you care if I throw that at you? So I did see today, and I have obviously, the Atlanta Hawks. John Collins. That's a big one. That's one of the better players that could be available now.
I saw, speaking of the Atlanta Hawks, I saw the Atlanta Hawks say they're willing to give up Reddish and Bogdanovich.
Yep, I saw that too.
Okay, so let's talk about the Hawks then. Good thing you brought that up.
Yeah, I mean, as a Mavericks fan, paying attention to a lot of Mavs media, but also like big time media, a lot of John Collins talks to the Mavs. I love Maxi Kleba. I think he's super valuable. I think he's my third favorite player on the roster right now. I do think John Collins would be an upgrade. Obviously offensively, which is huge, but I don't know how much more offense the Mavs need. But it would be a fun
Yeah,
fit. Like Luka throwing that man lobs. It's already fun with Trey. Luka's a
yeah.
way better player. It would be awesome.
I wish John Collins was a good defender.
Me
Like
too.
he's a decent defender, but if he was a lockdown defender, that would be so much better.
Totally.
Because if that was the case, I'd send him to the Timberwolves right away.
Oh yeah.
Ship him over there. You can get whatever you want back. You get Malik Beasley, anything. Just ship him over there. They need the power forward. He'd fit perfectly. But he's not a good defender.
No.
That's the problem.
What about anything for Reddish or Bogdanovich? Or do you have a John Collins destination other than what you just mentioned?
Well, do the Bucks have any assets left to give up for Bogdanovich? Because we know he was supposed to sign there as a free agent, and then the tampering rules kicked in or something.
Yeah,
and he wasn't able to
he
go
does
there.
have that relationship with Giannis, doesn't he?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I'm not sure, but
I don't know. I don't know how much value he has to the Bucks with the team they have right now. Now that they got PJ and also Drew Holiday, I don't know what their picks are looking like. But I mean, how attached do you think the Bucks are to Dante? I know he's not worth a John Collins, obviously, but like package around him.
I think they like Dante just because he's a good defender and a nice knockdown shooter.
Yeah,
But he's much more than that.
but might not be a bad guy to have as a coming off the bench in Atlanta or like on the floor occasionally with Trey.
Yeah. Yeah. Is that all you want to talk about, Trey Cox? You're good?
Yeah, good there. Sorry to interrupt. I just thought we should
No,
probably talk about
that's
the Hawks
perfect.
a little bit. So
Yeah.
what do we got for buyout stuff?
All right, so for buyouts, I have 3 to 4 potential candidates.
Okay.
First one is Wayne Ellington in Detroit. He's not a huge name, but he's a nice sniper that can come off a team's bench and help them win.
Yeah.
What do you think about him? Did you have any destinations?
I haven't thought about much for Ellington. Have you heard any rumors there? Or
I don't know. Any team that's contending for a championship that needs a shooter, I go for Wayne Ellington. Now, personally, I know a lot of people won't think about this one, but the Phoenix Suns, their backup small forward, even though Wayne Ellington plays shooting guard / small forward, their backup small forward is Langston Galloway.
Yeah.
He's been pretty decent. I would love to see Wayne there. Chris Paul could find him in the corner, hit those threes. Obviously, the Lakers with LeBron, that'd be beautiful. But yeah, hopefully he doesn't go to the Nets.
amen.
Okay, now the Spurs and LaMarcus Aldridge mutually agreed to part ways.
Interesting relationship.
What team? Yeah, what team could go for LaMarcus?
You know, a lot of these guys we've mentioned would be good additions to contenders. I don't see Aldridge making a huge impact on any of the contenders or borderline contenders, if I'm being honest. He's a great player, not the one he used to be. I know when we talked about this earlier, you mentioned Portland, kind of a reunion up there. But he would definitely have to accept the role of not being the main guy, obviously. That's CJ and Dame's team for sure. What kind of fit do you think he would have in Portland, and can you see him anywhere else?
So my thing with Portland, I would like to see that, but can LaMarcus Aldridge accept the role of small ball 5? I remember in the playoff series where Kawhi got injured against the Golden State Warriors, where he landed on his ankle. LaMarcus was supposed to play small ball 5, and you could see there was an argument on the bench with him and Coach Pop, because he did not want to play small ball 5. He said, I'm a power forward, I don't want to play center. But if he could play center for the Portland Trailblazers, I think that'd be great. Your closing lineup could look like Dame, CJ, Gary Trent, Melo, and LaMarcus Aldridge. Or you take Melo out
Maybe
there
Rocco
just because
out
defensive issues. Put Robert Covington.
When's Nurkic coming back?
I'm not sure, but he's been out for a while.
Yeah. Man, I love Nurkic, and I hate to see him get injured again.
Yeah. I hope he can return to the same form he was, because I believe he was averaging around 18 points per game at a certain point in his career. But
Yeah.
the other place I could see LaMarcus going to is Miami Heat. But my problem with them there is that he's not necessarily a three-point shooter, and he does a lot of the same things as Bam does, except he's not nearly as good of a defender or as good of a post player. But they have that same area where they work in.
Yeah.
So I don't know how that would fit.
Yeah, I don't love the fit there again. Like I said, with contenders, it seems kind of odd right now, or like legit contenders. I don't think Portland's quite on the level of the Heat in terms of contention, but they're right under them.
Yeah. And finally, the last guy, we talked about him for trade talks, JaVale McGee. I think the Lakers could go after him again, but the problem is, does JaVale want to go back himself?
I'm telling you, he's a ring chaser. He'd love to go back to LA with LeBron.
Oh my goodness.
Dude, JaVale,
Right.
JaVale on championship teams, which he's been on multiple, he's fun.
Yeah.
He's stupid and makes mistakes, but he's fun to see, like, actually, like, play big time moments and like get big time lobs and dunks and just get boards for a team. But
Well, the thing with JaVale, he's no longer the Shaq to the full meme.
Yeah.
He actually provides value to a team. He's been providing value for the Warriors ever since KD joined.
the
And
Lakers,
then for the past 2 years in Lakers, now the first year, that team was just funny. They had like Rondo, Lance Stevenson, LeBron, Michael Beasley, and JaVale. That was like a meme team right there. But,
some really tough stuff.
yeah. Would you like to close out the episode for us with the MVP race?
Yes, let's
You
do it.
gotta lead us through that one.
I gotta pull up my list here.
All right.
Perfect. I got it right here. Okay, we're gonna go through our MVP candidates. I think our lists are gonna surprise you. I already said that. I think you can agree they might be surprising to some people, especially if you know who I'm a fan of. We're gonna do our top 5. We'll mention some honorable mentions. Only guy I made a list of 6. My honorable mention, I'll just go ahead and say, is gonna be Giannis Antetokounmpo. The narrative hurts him. I think if he hadn't won MVP twice, and maybe even if he hadn't won it one of the 2 times, he'd be in this race for sure. But based on playoff performances, I don't think the voters are going to be voting for Giannis. Even though I think he should be up there, because really in terms of value for a team, he's right up there with anybody.
Yeah.
So he's my honorable mention. I know you got a couple more guys for honorable mention. Who you've got?
Yeah. So I got 2 other guys and Giannis.
Okay.
The first one being Jimmy Butler. My only problem with Jimmy is that he doesn't have the numbers necessarily, and I don't think the Heat are going to be a top 2 seed.
Yeah.
Especially if you're in the East, which the record's more than likely going to be worse than if you're in the West. I don't think Jimmy wins MVP, but he's one of the most valuable players to his team in the NBA. Like, you've seen the Heat with Jimmy and without Jimmy. Now, my other guy is Chris Paul. Same thing with Jimmy Butler, except Chris Paul actually does have the record. The Suns are 2 in the West, I believe.
Yeah, they're 2 right now.
Yeah, exactly. Chris Paul's the leader of that team. I would love to get CP3 MVP. That would help his GOAT
Super
case, not
sick.
GOAT case, but like his top point guard case so much. I don't think he's going to get it, though. I just thought I'd throw his name out. And finally, Giannis, like you said, he's a back-to-back MVP. He's not choked in the playoffs, but he hasn't really succeeded in the playoffs. And even though the MVP is a regular season award, the voters still think about stuff like that.
And we have to think, too, like, it's in terms of standings, the Bucks aren't as good as they have been the 2 years he won MVP.
Yeah, exactly.
But
They might not even finish top 2.
Their adjustments this year have been impressive, though.
Yeah,
I like how
yeah.
they look going into the playoffs. They're going to obviously struggle, especially second round, playing a really good team. But it'll be interesting with the Bucks. I don't know about that yet, but he's definitely a coach on the hot seat. Not quite as much as Luke Walton. Maybe not as much as Brad Stevens, but that's another conversation.
Oh, yeah. We'll leave that to another time.
Yeah. Okay,
so would you have to go first?
I'll actually ask you to go first. Who's your 5th?
Oh.
Who's number 5 on your list?
All right. Now, this may surprise some people, and a lot of people are going to tell me, why would you do that? He's having the best season of his career. Nikola Jokic.
Okay.
Nikola Jokic is my number 5. Here's why. For the past 2 years, the Nuggets have been a top 3 seed. Last year, they were 3. The year before, they were number 2, right behind the KD Warriors. This year, they might not even be a top 4 seed, depending on how badly the LeBron injury affects the Lakers. Yeah. Also, the Nuggets, Jokic has the personal stats, but he doesn't really have the storyline for it. The MVP is very based off a narrative. And even though Jokic has a bit of narrative, I don't think he has that much compared to other guys that we'll name in the future.
Yeah.
So who's your number 5?
Yeah, something interesting you made me think about there is most years it's a 1 or 2 seed who gets the MVP. Best player 1 or 2 seed. But the 1 and 2 seed, I don't think either of us have a guy on our list from the 1 and 2 seed in the West right now. Which we can talk about that in a bit, but I'll go ahead and share my number 5. Might make some people frustrated, but my number 5 is LeBron James. 25, 8, and 8. Great numbers. The narrative does help him this year. That's why... Yeah. Like, honestly, if I actually had to vote for MVP, I might have Giannis over him. But The narrative helps LeBron. I think he can win it this year. I definitely think he's in it. The interesting thing about this year's MVP race is normally it's pretty established by this point in the season of who's winning MVP or at least who the front runner is. We did have that in Embiid, but the injury kind of opened it up, and there's like 5 to 6 guys who could still be in it, maybe more.
Yeah.
So I got LeBron there. You can make the argument he's been the best player the past 10 years. I do believe he's been the best player. I don't believe he's there have been snubs. I don't think he's actually been snubbed. There's always been a good reason for the guy to win it over him. That's a long conversation you can have and a lot of research you can do there. No disrespect to LeBron. I think he's one of the best players of all time, maybe the GOAT. But he's 5 on my list.
I was shocked, honestly. LeBron at 5. On most people's lists, he's 1 or 2. But I understand your reasoning, and it does make sense. And also, it depends on how long LeBron is out with that injury
that's
and how bad it actually is. Because it's, I believe it's the front of the ankle, not the back.
Yeah.
It's not all contuted.
It's really interesting how LeBron's that guy. Like, when we watch Kevin Durant play, Steph Curry play, big names like that, you get nervous about them when they like do something like jump pretty high, land awkward. You're like, oh man, are they gonna be okay? LeBron's that kind of guy. I mean, our whole lives being pretty young, he's like invincible. Like, you don't expect him to get hurt. And at this point, what is he, 36 now? It's a little bit scary. Like, is this, I don't truly think that, and I don't want to jinx him or anything, but is this injury going to be the thing that like really slows down LeBron? You don't want to see that. So it makes you nervous. I hope he's all good.
Yeah, thinking about it, really, this could realistically be the last year of LeBron James's prime. Like, I hate to say it.
That makes me want to cry, bro.
I hate to say it, but it could realistically be the last year of LeBron James' prime.
Absolutely.
And that's kind of sad to think about because he's always been that Superman. He's never gotten injured except that 1 year when the Lakers were a 4 seed, and then he got that groin injury and he missed the playoffs completely.
Yeah, I wouldn't bet on this being the end of his prime, but you have a good point.
Yeah.
Okay, so who's your number 4?
My number 4, and I hate to be putting him this low, is James Harden. Now, the only reason why I see Harden being at number 4, not over these other guys, honestly, you can make a case for him being number 3. The only reason why I have him number 4 is because of how good Embiid has been playing this year. Now, it all depends on his injury. But Harden's been great. The only thing is that people always say KD and Kyrie, he's got KD and Kyrie, but really, he doesn't have KD and Kyrie. Kyrie could even out of the lineup this whole time. James Harden is the reason why the Nets have been where they are this year. I don't know. I'd love to see Harden win the MVP. I think he definitely deserves it. But the other guys got a bit more going for them, so I don't really know.
I hate to be this guy, but I completely disagree with this. I think my question for you, when's the last time the second best player on a team won MVP?
He's not the second best player.
Well, yes, he is. Kevin Durant's the second best player in the NBA. James Harden, the highest argument you can make, in my opinion, is 4 for him right now. I know you have him as like the GOAT or whatever. Sorry, I'm plugging my computer. But I just don't understand having a guy who's not the best player on his team as the MVP. He does have major impact. He's huge for them, but that's my take there.
You really don't think Harden has an argument to be the best player on that team?
Not with Kevin Durant playing on the team, no. He's fantastic. No argument, though.
Hear me out. Harden is a better defender this season than Kevin Durant. There is no more James Harden is a bad defender narrative. He's a good defender this year.
I don't think he has more value as a defender to the team.
Okay, yes, because KD can guard 1 through 5. Fine.
Yeah.
Which
makes you a better player.
Yeah, okay, fine. Okay, also, Harden's a better scorer in my opinion. All that KD has is a little tween in the mid-range. That's all KD has over Harden. Over Harden.
Okay.
Harden's a better shooter.
Stressing me out, bro.
He's a better finisher. Okay.
Harden has been fantastic. He's been fantastic. I'll agree. Yeah. I've enjoyed watching him this season. He's been a lot of fun.
And he's 10 times better of a passer than KD. KD can't pass.
He's the best pick and roll passer ever. Number 4 for me, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I've got Joel Embiid. That's maybe shockingly low. The main thing I can attribute that to is injury. I did say earlier I think he'd be the clear number 1 if he was still playing.
I was going to say, could I ask you a question? Would he be number 1 if he wasn't injured?
Yes. I mean, imagine. I mean, the team without Embiid is just not the same at all, and that's really the definition of the MVP. This is the doubt we've all had about him this whole time: is can Embiid stay healthy? And he's showing he can't, which is really tough. But I don't think you can argue him much higher than 3 right now on the list. So I got Embiid at 4. Who do you got at 3?
3. This might be a surprise to some people, but at number 3, it is Joel Embiid. I would put him higher. He was my number 1. I think a lot of people still have him as number 1, and he very well could win the MVP if he didn't get injured.
Yeah.
Joel's my number 3. We talked about him a bunch, so who's your number 3?
Okay, my number 3. People are not going to like me for this one, but there's a true argument here. I even earlier today, I didn't have him on my list because it's been a while since I've actually thought through the MVP race, like legitimately made a list because it's been changing a lot this season, like more than maybe ever. Number 3 for me is Luka Doncic. 29, 8, and 9 in the West. Playing in the West, the second best guard in the West. I do think he's a better player than the 2 guys I have ahead of him. But third in MVP race. He's probably the most impactful player for a single team in the league right now. One of the best playmakers. And he's been on an absolute tear. He went 8 for 9 last night. Like, are you kidding me? He put up like 40 points, almost averaging a triple-double. I got Luka at 3.
Luka?
Go for it.
Luka Doncic was my MVP frontrunner going into the season. I made a predictions list. I said, Luka's my MVP. He's going to win it.
Me too.
The Mavs haven't been that good.
No.
And it's not like Luka has been injured. Luka's been playing. Now, yes, they missed KP, but if you're the MVP, you should still be able to keep your team afloat. Now, I'm not saying Luka's a bad player whatsoever. I just don't think he's that high.
Of the guys on this list, he has by far the worst team and is carrying more than any of them.
Worse than the Blazers?
Yeah. He doesn't have a CJ McCollum next to him. Way worse than the Blazers, actually. I was pretty high on the Blazers rosters coming into the season.
Dame's been keeping the Blazers at a higher seed than the Mavs, and he hasn't had CJ. CJ's been injured.
Yeah. Wait till you hear my top 2 people on the list, bro.
Okay.
But I'm still saying Luka has a worse team.
Yeah. Okay. Number 2, LeBron James. Give me the king. Give me the king. I hope he doesn't stay out for too long. He had a real shot at MVP, especially when Embiid went out. I thought LeBron was going to win the MVP. I'm like, it's over. Embiid's out, LeBron's winning it. But then LeBron got injured too. Now it's wide open for anybody to win it. It's the easiest race for anybody in a while. And literally anyone can win it. LeBron's my number 2. He's got the numbers. He's got the narrative. He's got the team success.
All right, good pick. I won't argue with you there. It's fair to have LeBron there. You want me to go number 2 here?
Yeah, go for it.
My number 2, kind of interesting. Maybe not even the best at his position this year, but is Nikola Jokic. I'm hesitant. I think 2 is the highest I can have him right now. So he's putting up 27, 11, and 8, and I believe they're tied for 5th, 6th maybe. I think they're tied with the Blazers in the West for the 5th spot. But the interesting thing about Jokic is, like you said, he has to have a high seed to win MVP. If they're not in the top 4, I don't think he can do it because they're supposed to be the 3rd best team in the West coming into the season.
Yeah.
Jamal's been actually pretty good, especially the second part of the season. Almost looking like bubble Jamal some nights. MPJ's been averaging 20, I think, over the past 6 or 7 games. So really the Nuggets should be winning more, and part of that is on Jokic, but his numbers have gone way up from last year.
Yeah.
And he's just a beast, like one of the best offensive guys in the league.
I agree with you there. Jokic is a great player. I just don't think the Nuggets have enough team success to win it. And that's my biggest problem with the conferences. Because if the Nuggets were in the East, they'd be, a top 3 seed? Top 2 seed right now?
Yeah, 3, I would say.
My MVP winner for this year, I don't care what anybody else said, is going to Damian Lillard. And
Let's go.
Here's why.
Real quick. He's mine too, so you explain why.
Okay, that's great. Damian Lillard has the numbers. He's got the narrative. He's got the team success. If Dame can bring the Blazers to a top 3 seed, he will win the MVP. Now, I hope the Jazz slip just a bit to keep the records relatively close, so it even helps them further. I think Dame wins the MVP. That would bolster him in the top point guards ever category. I told someone I have Dame over John Stockton all time, and they looked at me like I was crazy. No offense to John Stockton.
It depends how you make the list, but that's very reasonable. Like, if I told you can have John Stockton or Dame on your team,
Dame.
Yeah.
Give me Dame time,
man. Anything else to say about Dame? I got some things I could say as well.
Yeah, go for it, man.
Yeah, so if you know me, you probably are here from our TikTok. You know I'm kind of slandering Dame sometime. I think Luka's a better player. He's a better playmaker. He's just a better player overall. But what Dame's been doing with his team is insane. Like, his clutch numbers are incredible. If he's shooting the ball and in clutch moments, you know it's going in. There's really no other player in the league where you know it's going in, other than Dame. Interesting thing about Dame in this MVP race is, like we said earlier, rarely does a player win MVP unless they're a 1 or 2, 3 seed in their conference. I think Dame could this year as a 4 or 5 seed. 1, the West is stacked, and 2, he's just producing like crazy. The interesting thing is the guy who set the precedent that lower seeds can win MVP is his rival, Russell Westbrook.
Gotta say something on that point.
Yeah.
Russell Westbrook is an anomaly. He got a triple-double. He averaged a triple-double for the first time in NBA history since Oscar Robertson. So the NBA is confused. They're like, do we give it to him? This is the first time in years he's done that. So he was the MVP. You can make an argument for James Harden winning it that year.
Every year.
Russell Westbrook was the MVP, even though they had a lower seed. Mm-hmm. I don't think Dame's doing what Russ did.
Yeah, but you agree Dame's a front runner for MVP.
Yeah, but I think his team has to succeed more. I think they need to get higher.
Like a 4 seed at the lowest?
A 4 seed?
Yeah.
I think if they get a 4 seed,
because they're not going to be a top 3 seed.
No, not a top 3 seed.
No chance.
Not over the Suns.
No. They won't be a top 3 seed. I don't think they can pass the Jazz or the LAs, and then the Suns maybe, but probably not.
Real talk though, it kind of sucks that Utah, the number 1 team in the league, no MVP candidates.
I know. Very interesting squad. I hope they find success. I hope they're successful in the playoffs. I don't think it's going to happen, but I hope. I think it'll be awesome.
That's what conference playoffs, man. It's going to be the most interesting thing we've had in a while.
Eastern Conference playoffs are going to be fun, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Damian Lillard's been insane. Love what I'm seeing from him.
Same here. So, I think we're about to wrap it up, correct?
Yeah, I think that's all we got.
Before we do go, rest in peace to the legend, Elgin Baylor. The news just broke that he passed away today. It's a horrible loss for him. Yeah.
More impactful player than I think people realize.
Yeah.
For sure.
That's it, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Any last words?
I have one last prediction I got to make. Bold prediction. Maybe I'll do these at the end of every pod. Tonight, the Raptors are going to break the losing streak or Houston's going to break their losing streak against the Raptors. They're not losing 21 in a row.
Happens.
The Raptors are taking the L tonight.
The Raptors are snapping our losing streak, guys.
I'll text you when it happens. That's my take. Anything else you want to say?
Come back after the game. The Raptors will win this. Mark my words. Our losing streak is over. Even though we're fading for Cade. Or not fading for Cade. Even though we're fading for Cade. We're going to win tonight.
Whatever.
Hey, thank you guys so much for tuning in.
Yeah, thank you. We'll be dropping another one next Monday, hopefully. Comment what you want to hear from us. We'll have some more fun stuff in the works.
Yeah. See.
Thanks, guys. See ya.